Okay, welcome to the session here. This titled Blast Off with Google Classroom. This is part of what I like to call my nothing but a G Suite thing thread of sessions. And in the sessions, we're going to talk about how Google Classroom is more than just assigning stuff with Google. It's a launch pad for learning. You bring in a variety of other activities and apps and strategies into the classroom with Google Classroom as the platform. So, like I said, it's like a launch pad for learning. You can find these slides using this bit.ly, so bit.ly/blastoffgc. The G and the C are capital, so make sure that this is case sensitive. That they make the G and the C capital, and the rest of it lowercase. Let's go ahead and get started here. Again, my name is Adam Waters. I'm a tech integration coach for grade 612 for Cutler-Arossi Joint Unified School District out in Tulare County in rural Central California. Just to give you an idea of the community I serve, Arossi is a pretty much 95% of my students over the last 15 years are the children of Mexican migrant farm workers. We have about 4.5% Filipino students, and I could probably count all the white students that I've ever had on one hand. It's a very impoverished community, a lot of issues with gangs, and those are just some of the issues that I have to deal with in my teaching assignment. So every teaching assignment has its hurdles, and those are the ones that I deal with. You can contact me here at my personal email address you see on this slide. You have my website where I house all of my PD resources, and then you can also subscribe to my blog, which at least once a week I'll throw out a blog about education technology and pedagogy. Let's go ahead and get started now. So, why Google Classroom? So, I can talk about why I think about it, but let's go to an expert here. You may have heard of Alice Keeler. She literally wrote the book on Google Classroom. Google Classroom wasn't even a year old, and she wrote this famous book there called 50 Things You Can Do with Google Classroom. I mean, it was a brand new platform, and boom, she took the bull by the horns and wrote about it. And in that book, and when I've heard her speak, she talks about it's the world's greatest filing system. I think that's a great way to characterize what Google Classroom is. It really does a great job of organizing your Google Drive, because we all know Google Drive can be a very hectic place to try to find things. And Classroom, both for you as an educator and for students, it organizes it for you. Like whatever you do in Classroom, automatically a folder is made and everything is put in there for you. You don't have to name it, and you know exactly where you can find it. So it is definitely a great filing system. In addition to filing things, it also, every time you create a classroom, it also creates an event on your calendar. So it really helps you with your calendar as well. Definitely something that doesn't get used as much with full-time classroom teachers and students especially. So definitely something you want to take a look at as the calendar integration with Google Classroom. So one of my favorite things, so I'll talk about what Alice Keeler says. Here's my 2 cents on Google Classroom. It is the basis of a movement that I've tried to start since I became a tech coach, called Ditch That Copier. We all have a horror story of how the copier ruined the lesson. You could try to run off your copies of whatever materials you were using in class that day, and you had to wait in line, or that it was out of toner, and then you had to pull the toner out, and you get that black stuff all over your hands. It makes a mess, stains your clothes. Just not cool. And then by the time that you get to the copier, you're just sitting there frustrated, probably on your phone checking Facebook while it runs off, while it's running off copies, and you're not usually using that time to think of more empowering learning experiences. You're just frustrated because you have to deal with this infernal machine here. So, long story short, Ditch That Copier. It's about not going paperless, but being more efficient with your time. And Google Classroom definitely does that. So if you look at Ditch That Copy, you're like, where have I seen that before? It is stylized after Matt Miller's Ditch That Textbook. And not that I'm not ripping Matt Miller off. Matt Miller actually has that sticker on his laptop. He was very appreciative that I've kind of remixed his idea a little bit. I saw Ditch That Copier as kind of a stepping stone to Ditch That Textbook. So it was really helping me help my teachers make that leap, that pedagogical leap to Ditch That Textbook. Ditch That Copier was like a stepping stone. But definitely Google Classroom is the basis, the foundation of my Ditch That Copier movement. So some of the basic benefits I like to highlight here with Google Classroom. As a teacher, you get to distribute and work and assignments in a flash. It's so quick. So think of how much time, if you added up the minutes each day you spend handing things out to students, and you add that up through the 180 days of a year, how many hours that would actually that would add up to. It's pretty. I haven't done the exact math, but it's astounding how much time we spend doing that, and how much Google Classroom allows us to do it at the click of a button, and it saves instructional time. It saves it helps you with your classroom management, because when you're doing those transitions and you're handing things out to students, that's an opportunity for kids to misbehave. And if we can eliminate those moments, then definitely it's something that we want to take a look at as educators. And as quickly as it is to distribute works in a flash, you can collect student work in an instant. The second kids are done, they don't need to put it in their backpack, put it on their binder, and then transport it somewhere to school. Hopefully they didn't lose it or it didn't get crumpled up in their bag. And then you have to collect it. So there's more time that you have to spend collecting it. So this kid's done, they click the submit or turn in button, and there it is. And you get a notification that someone has turned it in, usually if it's late. But if you have it open, you'll see the numbers of kids turned in or assigned, and it changes in real time. So you can definitely it does save you a lot of aggravation with collecting student work. It's all in one place, all on your computer. There's no having to lug, stacks and stacks of papers to and from home. Have a laptop, will travel. It makes life so much easier for students. They can create a variety of things digitally and easily submit to their teacher. Before Google Classroom, even since people haven't really learned about what it is, a lot of teachers have learned about, okay, I know Gmail, my kids have Gmail, they would share it with them. And then your inbox gets blown up, and it's a management nightmare. So as far as kids submitting their digital work, Classroom makes it so much easier for kids and for you to organize what they do. With distance learning now, which is part of our vocabulary now, it's part of our everyday life. Google Classroom, for most of us, this is the platform that kids are submitting work. I know where I work, it's written to our distance learning plan. Google Classroom is the platform. And the beauty of it, it's free. You don't have to pay for it like Blackboard or Canvas. It's absolutely free for education. So there's so many benefits to Google Classroom. I want to get off my soapbox for a minute. Let's go ahead and get into the nitty gritty. So going back to that filing system metaphor that was brought upon by Alice Keeler, just like I said, it's a great filing system because in conjunction with Google Drive, Classroom files and stores your assignments and student work, so you and your students don't have to. It creates the folders in Google Classroom, in Google Drive for you. You don't have to think about it. It's named properly and it's organized and filed for you within your Google Drive. There's no having to do that yourself, and you can always access the files from Classroom in Google Drive from Google Classroom. You'll see right here it says Class Drive folder. You click that, it takes you right to your Google Drive in a separate tab, and it takes you right to where you want to be. So there's no more of this old cliche of the dog ate my homework. With Google Classroom, that's really, unless the dog chews up their device, there's really no more of this the dog ate my homework excuse. With Google Classroom, in the classwork tab, is where you assign work. We're going to go over some of the basics of that in a few minutes. But this is where you would actually assign and collect the work in Classroom. We'll talk about the stream. Now, the stream I like to use it for communication. Classwork is where I assign and collect work. And a relatively new feature of the Classwork tab here is the topics. In the beginning of Google Classroom, there wasn't this topic feature. So what it does here, if you take a look here, I have two topics here you can see in the screenshot. One for a unit I taught on totalitarianism, and one that I call reference. So what this means is that each assignment that I create, each material that I give to the students, I can organize it by topic. So if I create a new one and I select the reference topic, it'll be stuck in this section here. And the beauty about topics, you can do it by unit, by lesson, however you want to organize your classwork. For you as a teacher, it makes it easier to organize your classwork. At the same time, for students, it makes it easier for them to find things in the classwork when they're going there and looking at their assignments. And the beauty of it is, I can click on any one of these here, and I can drag it, and I can drop it. I can reorder the topics in any order that I want. One of my pro tips is have a reference topic that you keep that I like to keep pinned to the top. And what that does is things that I have kids, I want them to refer to a lot. So like if you see it in this old screenshot here, anyone who knows me knows I'm big on sketch notes. So I have some sketch notes resources here for them to join my class in remind.com. Example of how I want them to take notes. And then I have a website here where I have old lessons. So if they're absent, they can simply go to classwork, go to reference. Okay, there's an old lesson video that I need to get caught up on. They click on it and they can find what they need. So definitely a pro tip here: have a reference topic that you keep at the top here for kids to refer to things that easily find things that you would have them go to often. So these are just some examples of how you can use that topic and how to create a reference section within the classwork tab of Google Classroom. So let's talk about why it's a launch pad for learning. That's probably the best. I mean, Alice Keeler says it's the world's greatest file system. Couldn't agree more. The way I like to characterize it, it's a launch pad for learning. So as I said, you can pass out and collect papers instantly. I put papers in quotes there. Easily share links. So we'll talk about just some examples of different outside non-Google sources that you can bring into Google Classroom to really to jazz up your class and really get kids engaged with the 4 C's. Let's talk about again collaboration and digital citizenship, how Classroom can help, especially right here with digital citizenship. We'll talk about a simple way that you can promote digital citizenship with students using Google Classroom. In time, and if there's sufficient time, we'll talk about ways you can mark the text digitally without spending hours on the copier, again, using Google Classroom. So let's talk about some kind of first day of school type things here. So this is an example right here of, as if we go back here, we talk about instantly share links. So if you look at this is an example of something I've used with our school RTI model. So in my RTI model, we have 3 different groups. We have an enrichment group, an error analysis group, and intervention. And in Google Classroom, I have a variety of links right here based on whichever group a kid is part of, they go to these different links. And again, this is just a screenshot of what it looks like to bring in a variety of different activities for students to that are beyond just doing a Google slide, typing on a Google Doc, that are beyond Google. So for example, right here, if we're looking at the enrichment one right here, it says make a copy of the memes and share it to the teacher for extra credit. So right here, this is the Google Slides right here, where they would make a copy of this and then they would turn in their copy, making some memes. That was their enrichment activity. For the kids who needed to do error analysis, they would look at their assessment and it says right here, review the questions you got wrong and verbalize your correct answer on the Flipgrid link. So right here's the Flipgrid right here. The kids would have their assessment in front of them. They would do their error analysis, and then the ones they got wrong, they would verbally explain those incorrect answers on Flipgrid. So I'm bringing in another outside source that's outside of Google. Flipgrid is owned by Microsoft. So I'm bringing in a completely, totally separate source in there to the classroom. For my intervention students, I would give them it says rewatch the lesson video and review with Quizlet before retaking their quiz. So we have right here, this is the YouTube video that is the lesson video that they would need that the quiz was based on. And then they can do some practice with Quizlet before they retake the quiz. So here we actually have an image of kids playing Quizlet live. So in my experience, what I've done with the intervention, that half dozen kids or a dozen kids or so would play Quizlet live before actually in reviewing that way before retaking some form of an assessment. And it's a lot more robust than just simply here, just kind of memorize a bunch of facts here. You're bringing in that collaboration, the communication, the teamwork to the review process. And again, Google Classroom is that launch pad for learning. Google Classroom allows you to bring in this variety of options for kids when we get to the intervention day. So this is a screenshot of what it would look like when you are playing Quizlet Live. So if you're not familiar with Quizlet Live, what it'll do, you put like a study set of terms or concepts, and it randomly groups kids into groups of 3 or 4. Then they have to sit together, and what's going to happen, you will have potential answers. So will your teammates, and then only one of you has the right answer. So you have to talk about it, compare notes, and figure out which one of you has the right answer and choose it and submit it, and do that for however many concepts or vocabulary terms are in that study set. So it's a very fun way for kids to really build that sense of community and collaboration when they are reviewing. So here's what I like to do on the first day of school. This is again, and I think this is going to be probably more important than ever when we come back in the fall, because from what I'm hearing, a lot of schools are going to be doing some kind of a hybrid model where you're going to see your kids a couple times a week, for 30 to 45 minutes, maybe up to an hour. You're not going to see them every day, so you need to really maximize that minimum amount of face-to-face time you have with students. So I actually developed this long before we ever knew what a COVID-19 quarantine was. I've been doing this for years, and it's a way to kind of really train the kids in the different apps and strategies that I'm going to use a lot throughout the year, and do it in a fun way. It also builds culture, because one of the most important things for me to do early on in the year is let the kids get to know me. They're going to spend 180 days with me. I want them to get to know me from day one. I want to start building that relationship with them. And what I like to do during that first week of school, I do this kind of introductions activity. So one of those introduction activities usually takes 1, sometimes 2 days, depending on the kids' skills at that time, is where I'll do a quick presentation about myself. I'm going to talk about myself. I go, day number 1, you guys are going to get to know me. It's easier for you to all to get to know me than me to try to get to know each and every one of you right away. So I talk about myself, who I am, where I'm from, all my likes and dislikes, and it starts in that presentation here with these slides. The kids get to know me, and I give them the slides right here. They can follow along while I'm talking, and it kind of gives them a measure of control over that while they're going through the slides while I'm explaining each one. So once we go over that kind of mini presentation, probably about 10 minutes, then we said, all right, let's see how much you learned. You're going to review individually using Quizlet. So I drop a Quizlet link in here that goes over all the main points about me in that in that slide deck there. So they get to, I give them some time, maybe about 7 to 8 minutes on their own, play the different review games in Quizlet. Some kids do the flashcards, others do the matching game. Some like to test themselves. Some do the spelling. Some just kind of go through all the terms individually. There's a variety of review games in Quizlet. I like to call Quizlet note cards on note cards on steroids, because you can do so many different things with it, and it's a great review tool. And all they're doing is reviewing what they had just learned, and they're getting to know me. And then after 7 or 8 minutes, we jump into Quizlet Live. So the live version, now they have to collaboratively review about what they've learned about their teacher. And then once we've done a couple rounds of Quizlet Live, then we jump into quizzes where I'm gonna give them their first grade of the year. It's all going to be extra credit. I don't punish them for not knowing everything about me yet, but I like to give them extra credit for it. It's they play a quizzes game. So pretty much the same terms that they saw in Quizlet, I pretty much copy over to Quizzes, and they will individually kind of play a gamified quiz to assess their knowledge of what they've learned about me so far. So after 3 rounds of them really getting to know me, now we're flipping the script. Now it's their chance to try and get to know me. So what I like to do is I'll have them introduce themselves to me on Flipgrid. So I'll kind of preface it to the students by saying something like this. All right, so you think of all the things that I said about me. I want to know some of those things about you. So if you want to take a sticky note or some scratch paper or a note card and jot some things down of what you want to say, maybe do a little rough draft or something, kind of have it up there ready to go. So when you're ready, I'll let them even take their Chromebooks outside, and you have 2 minutes to introduce yourself to me. So then I can go on my time and look at each video and really get to know these kids a little bit better, and something that I can refer back to and see if there's any of those commonalities between me and them that I can use, for lack of a better term, exploit, to kind of make that connection with them and kind of and just be a better educator and meet their needs better. So again, going back to the whole Google Classroom thing, Google Classroom is that platform. It's that launch pad for me to do a variety of these things. I'm going to be doing a lot this year. If you forget about it, it sounds like a fun activity, but these are all things I'm going to be doing all year. Kids are now learning how to navigate these different tools, all while they're having fun doing it and doing it in a non-academic way. So when we get to the academic part, I don't have to teach them these tools; they already know how to do it. And again, this is just a simple way to kill many birds with one stone. You're introducing yourself to the kids. They're introducing themselves to you. You're teaching some valuable skills, and you're building your classroom culture all in one. And again, that's why I like to call Google Classroom a launch pad for learning. So here's a couple of resources that you can use. Now that you have these slides here, feel free to share these videos here. This one right here is how to get started with quizzes and Google Classroom from the teacher view. Here's how students would do it on their end. So you can, if you want to teach kids how to do quizzes themselves if they've never done it, you can share this video with them. If you want to learn how to do it yourself, this is for you right here. For Quizlet, this teaches you how to, as a teacher, to create Quizlet for the very first time. And this is one that we'll talk about later when we talk about the Fast and Curious Edu Protocol. My spin on the Fast and Furious Edu Protocol combines Quizlet and quizzes and how to take your Quizlet terms and put them into quizzes. So there's that continuity between the two apps when you were having kids review and assess the same kind of information. So again, use these videos as much as you like. They're a resource for you to access at any time. So Google Forms is just another simple little trick you can do with a Google Classroom here. Google Forms, for me, my favorite way to use them is an exit ticket. A quick short quiz, a quick short writing assignment, in Forms that definitely it's a simple way to do an exit ticket. There's no having to collect little pieces of paper and then try to file them and read the kid's band handwriting and then try to, do something with that data. Forms will have it in a spreadsheet for you, all their information, and it really makes that data entry so much easier. So these two videos here shows you how to set up a form using Google Classroom, and here what it looks like on the student end. So if your kids have never used Google Forms before, this is a little video you can share with them to show them how to use Google Forms from Google Classroom. So we talked earlier about digital citizenship and how Google Classroom is a great way as a launch pad for kids to learn digital citizenship. In today's modern age, kids are online, 24/7. Some kids, they're always online, and when they're not online, they're thinking about what they're going to post online or what games they're going to play online. So digital citizenship is not something that gets taught very much at home, and it's imperative that us as teachers do guide them in doing that. So I would say we have a responsibility to do it. So Google Classroom is a great way to teach digital citizenship. So something as simple as teaching kids how to, in Google Classroom, what they can and cannot post. That's definitely something that you can, is a simple digital citizenship lesson. So if you ever use Google Classroom, you can change the permissions. By default here, students can post and comment. Or you can put it where students can only comment on teacher posts. Or you can put it where teachers can only post or comment. So I like to leave it with this one right here. Students can't post or comment. I want to trust them initially and see what they do. If a kid posts something in the stream that's inappropriate, I think I have a teachable moment. And the thing is, they learn that what they post cannot be deleted. They can't delete it. It's not once it's there, and they can learn there are some consequences. So what you can do in the people tab, if little Johnny is posting inappropriate things, you can mute them. Everybody else can. You don't punish the whole class. You don't just put it where teachers can only post or comment. You can mute them where only that certain kid, and it's a lesson an easily teachable lesson. So maybe for a few days they can't post anything. So definitely it's a simple teachable moment with Google Classroom. Another thing is knowing that you want to have that relationship with your admin or a coach. What you can do, you can add an admin or a coach as a co-teacher, because however many teachers and co-teachers there are in Google Classroom, on the home page of Google, in the banner of Google Classroom, you're going to see all the teachers and co-teachers. So actually, my wife came up with this idea years ago. She had teachers who were struggling with kids who were posting inappropriate things in classroom. She says, add me, I'm the admin, add me as a co-teacher, and then they'll see that my name is on there. And you remind them, hey, that the admin is watching. They can see everything you post. And lo and behold, that teacher who was in charge of that classroom, saw a downfall in kids posting things. So like, oh man, the vice principal can see what I'm posting. So definitely, it was a simple way for kids to know, what, I need to think, what am I doing? Because who's watching? What consequences will there be? And from time to time, my wife, as the admin there, she would go into the stream and she would post something. Hey, I like what you guys are doing. Please make sure that you guys are using academic language. This is for academic purposes. Please do not post anything inappropriate. We don't type in text message language or use emojis here. We're typing academically. And like, oh man, she's watching, so I better be on my best behavior. It's just a simple way to teach basic digital citizenship skills that they might not get otherwise. It's one thing for us to just tell them, but these Google Classroom gives us these teachable moments. So pretty much those little lessons are applied to social media like Facebook, like Snapchat, like Twitter, like Instagram. So they're learning it in a safe place like Google Classroom because the public doesn't see Classroom. The public will see Facebook, and the mistakes they make in Facebook and other public social media forums. Those have much farther reaching consequences when they're not being appropriate. But if we keep those inappropriate posts and things that they type in Classroom, we can nip it in the bud right there. We can have that teachable moment. So hopefully that will prevent them from making those same mistakes in a public forum. So as kids, get older, this generation probably more than ever, when they go to college, many of them more than our generation are going to be taking college courses online. So college is actually going to look a lot more like this. If you've ever taken an online college course, you know that the message board and discussion board is a huge part of your weekly activities on an online course. When I did my master's degree, it was 100% online, and multiple times a week, I was responding to lessons and readings on the message board, and then also responding to my classmates' posts as well. So this is what it would look like in Blackboard. But Google Classroom has the question feature that can emulate this in Google Classroom. So if kids are going to be going to college this way, this is a very simple way to get kids to begin participating in these threaded conversations on discussion boards. So this is just a screenshot of what it can look like. Have that kind of academic discussion using Google Classroom and in Google Classroom's version of what a threaded discussion would look like. It's a great way to prepare kids for that kind of future. So here's kind of what it looks like on the student end. So if you were to create a Google Classroom question, when the student opens it up, they will see that here's the question. Here's any further instructions. So in this case here, it says, please respond to the prompt and reply to at least 2 other classmates. That's a very common college level activity using things like Blackboard and Canvas. So right here, the kids will see in the top right, this is where they type their answer. They can type private comments just to the teacher. Whatever they type here, their whole class can see. So they can get feedback from their peers right here, feedback from just the teacher, only the teacher can see it. And this is what their answer is that both the teacher and students will be able to see as well. So once they type their answer, they click turn in. As a teacher, I'm going to see every kid how many of them has it been assigned to who haven't turned it in, how many have turned it in. And all I have to do is click on the student and see what their for the kids who have been turned in, what the response is, and I can see who has replied. This is just a mock-up that I did, replying to myself from different accounts. But you can see which kids replied to this student here. So if you have those criteria where not only do they have to do their own response, others have to respond to them as well. It helps you with your grading purposes to see who responded to which of their classmates and peers. So English learners, you can use Google Classroom as a great launchpad for teaching English learners. I like to say Google Classroom is a great way to jumpstart the writing process. So 2 of my favorite, if you know anything, the thing probably sticks out to me the most for English learners is I think of ELs, I think of listening and speaking. When you're trying to learn a new language, listening to the language and speaking it are such essential things. And Google Classroom, along with other outside sources like Screencastify and Flipgrid, give kids the opportunity to listen and speak. It's one of the important things for kids to do when they're learning a new language. They need to hear themselves. They need to hear other people, other ELs speaking as well, and hear the mistakes that are made, and compare it to native speakers, and really help them develop language. And Google Classroom allows us to bring in activities like or apps like Screencastify and Flipgrid into the class that will allow them to jumpstart the writing process. Because in my experience teaching a high population of ELs, my ELs, they know the material, but they don't write about it very well in English. But they can speak about it. They can explain it verbally much better than they can write it. So in my experience, what I've done, before I have them write, I have them speaking about it on Flipgrid or on Screencastify. They record themselves. They listen to themselves. They get that, they get their brain really working and processing the information. And in my experience, that has made their writing so much more effective, so much better when they spoke about it first. So the way Flipgrid works with Google Classroom is this: when you when you create your topic, you'll see a pop-up where you have a button there for Google Classroom, which all you have to do is click on that button, and they will then push it into Google Classroom. You choose, do you want it to be an assignment, a material? I would say with Flipgrid, you want to choose material. So that this is the little icon where it's a material, because I'm just sharing the link with it. So when the kids go, open up classwork and they see it, they're just one click away from getting to that getting to that Flipgrid topic, where they're going to be given a chance to speak about whatever topic they had learned in class that day. And again, have them speak about it before they write. You will see a marked improvement in their writing when you allow them to speak about it. They'll be more confident in writing after they speak about it. And maybe if you look at their writing and you're not sure what they're saying, you can go back to their video on Flipgrid and maybe kind of help glean the understanding, because we want to know that they understand the content as much as we want to improve their ability with the English language. So Screencastify, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, is a screen recording Chrome extension. It is free, but the free version allows you to do no more than 5 minutes at a time. And I believe, last time I checked, there's 50 recordings you can do a month. The premium, which last time I checked was less than $40 a year. It's a great value. Allows you to record unlimited amount of videos and recording time. So it's a great way to really record yourself. I'm fortunate where I work. Our school actually purchased the premium subscription for all of our students. So they're able. So they're able to. Kids are now able to record themselves. But you can totally get away with the free version. If you want kids just doing quick, maximum 5-minute videos, they can allows them to really explain what they know. So here's kind of one of my favorite ways with students to have them use Screencastify. So what I like to do is in Google Classroom, I'll create a blank slide deck template for kids to use, and I I put it in the classroom, and I make a copy for each student. So every kid's going to get a copy of this blank slides template, and then they have to create their slides. So whatever topic they learned, I want them to create the slides. They're going to be the teachers. I'm putting the onus on the kids to do the heavy cognitive lifting, and they're going to create the slides. They're taking the role of a teacher, so that they can use their notes. They can use any resources that I've given them from my lessons, etc. And they're going to create slides. And then once they create the slides, they're going to use Screencastify. So they can click on the Screencastify extension, they click record, and they're going to record themselves explaining their slides as if they were the teacher. They're doing the lecture video. And when they're done, the beauty of Screencastify, it saves every recording automatically in Google Drive for them. The first time that you or a student uses Screencastify, it creates a folder in Google Drive for them automatically, and they're automatically saved right in there every time, no having to file it yourself. So it helps with that. And because it's in Google Drive, they can easily submit it to Google Classroom. So again, a variety of ways of getting kids, especially English learners, listening and speaking. Because if they mess up, they when they're done recording and they hear that they made a mistake, they have the repetition. They're doing these different iterations, and they can hear their mistakes, like, oh, I made a mistake right there. I need to start over. And they're only going to turn in the best version of themselves. No one's going to know how many takes it took for them to record their video. They're only going to show their best. And if it took them 4 or 5 times, that's 4 or 5 lessons they learned. We're teaching that learning's a process more than just a destination. So the last couple of things we'll talk about here is using Classroom to facilitate collaboration and collect collaborative work and differentiate. Differentiation is a common buzzword among educators. So Classroom, it has some few simple features that allows you to differentiate and have them do collaborative work. So well, you can use the you can set assignments to be assigned to only certain students. So maybe you have a group of kids that are going to work on a certain project and you have a template for them. You can assign it just to those students. If you have another one for another group of students, you can assign it just to that group of students. So it's very simple to do. So when you go to create your assignment in Google Classroom, by default, it'll be all students will see whatever that you're putting. But if you click on the all students, it'll give you a nice long list of every kid enrolled in your classroom. And if you uncheck the all students, only check the students that you want to have that certain assignment, then those kids are the only ones that are going to see it. You'll see it because you're the teacher, but only those two kids. If I just check these two kids here, when I click assign right here, they're the only ones that are going to see it. So I can create multiple different assignments in Classroom, and each assignment could be for a different set of kids. So it makes it easier to differentiate and do collaborative group work as well through Google Classroom. So we'll kind of leave you with one of the probably if you're a newbie when it comes to Classroom, this is one of the functions of the Classroom that you probably get the most bang for your buck out in the beginning. This is what really will allow you to ditch that copier. It's the make a copy for each student function here. So let's say, for example, you have a writing template in Google Docs. So you want to have the kids write maybe, let's say, an essay outline template. You want them to fill this out before they write their essay. So instead of making copies of this in paper, you have it already in Google Docs. No need to print it out. You just, when you create the assignment, you click on the Google Drive button, and then you're going to attach from Google Drive. You're going to choose your template, and then it's going to show up here in my assignment. And then on the permissions, by default, it says students can view, but you're going to change it to make a copy for each student. So what this has done is now pretty much it's like you ran it off at the copier, and then you put every kid's name on it yourself. But in less than 5 seconds, you've done that already, and it's distributed to every kid, and they really can't lose it. So it's definitely, this is a very good bang for your buck for Google Classroom newbies. It'll save you so much time and really get you. This will help me fall in love with Google Classroom and allow me to really spread my wings and do some much more empowering learning experiences. Once I learned this, it kind of really got me going with Google Classroom and wanted me to learn so much more that this platform can do. So again, my name is Adam Wattis, and I want to thank you for joining me on this session here. And again, whenever you have a session with me, you get free tech support for life. So please feel free to reach out to me. This is my personal email address. You can go to my website and find other training resources. You can subscribe to my blog there on the Bitly. Again, when you message me, the probably easiest and fastest way to do it is through Twitter. My Twitter handle will be just like this, @TechCoachWattis. Follow me. I'll follow you back. I do my best, whether through email, through Twitter, Facebook, whatever. I do my best to respond within 24 hours. So thanks again, and I hope to see you guys down the road.